What you're about to see is an email and a question that came in from an author, and they're struggling to get book sales, wanting to know what to do next. They're feeling overwhelmed. And it doesn't matter whether you write fiction or nonfiction or children's books or anything else. There's going to be some lessons here, some things that I talk about, principles, might call it, some mindset type of things, as well as strategic things that will help you regardless of what kind of books you write, if your goal is to build a career or build a business out of being an author. So that'll make sense here in a moment. First of all, I'm going to go through this. I do have permission to share this. The author can benefit from this as well as the rest of you. The author did give me permission to make this a public video, so giving you that heads up. So first, let's go through this. Love to have passive income, not able to get any sales, love writing. So here's the first point. My guess is I have not written a book people want. I don't really want to just write a book because it's in demand. And this author actually has 3 books, a 4th book coming out. So we got 3 books: Women in Healthy Aging, Tips, Tricks, and Strategies for Staying Fit and Active. Another book, Job Seeker Guide, The Battle for Opportunities, Job Seeker Frustrations with Increasing Competition. And then Possum, Tail Wagging Training for Your Dog and Cat in a Dog's Voice for Children and Youth. So they go on to say, I don't have reviews on these except a couple on the last one. I have another book's almost ready to put out. Fiction, so much information becomes overwhelming. Love to get individual help. No, what I need is reviews and email lists. Thought about joining book funnels, trying to get publisher rocket, but again, it's more money, not a guarantee. Really not sure my question is. So this is a number of great lessons for you, regardless of where you're at. If you're more advanced, if you're beginner, let's break down a few things. So if you do have a little more experience, then I'm going to turn this into a quick sort of pop quiz. What do you see might be the issue here if you're looking at this? So we have a couple things. We have these 3 books out. We have lack of reviews. We have things like needing reviews and email lists. Now, if you followed me for any period of time, I talk about the importance of email, building an email list. That's a big thing that I talk about. Getting book reviews, have a whole Get Book Reviews challenge, have a whole email challenge. And I've certainly used in recommended book funnels, Publisher Rocket, all of these things, right? So the first thing that jumped out at me, and this actually isn't even the bigger issue, but the first thing that jumped out at me and that I let this author know is it's like nothing else is going to matter if you don't have the titles dialed in. And even the titles aren't going to work if it's really not a book that people want. So let's take a look at this. When people say they've written a book that people want, let's take a look at this first one: Women in Healthy Aging, Tips, Tricks, and Strategies for Staying Fit and Active. Well, on one level, is there a market for women who want to, be healthy and anti-aging? Of course. So in general, there is a market for that. The issue with it, and you might notice there's no hook. So yeah, people probably don't want it because what makes this book special? What's different about this? It sort of reads like a blog title: Women in Healthy Aging, and Tips, Tricks, and Strategies for Staying Fit and Active. So it's what I just say is generic. It's a sort of a so what title. Maybe it could have worked 15 years ago as a self-published book, like when there just weren't that many self-published books out. Even then, that's a stretch. That's certainly not in today's market. Next thing is job, or before even going further. So do reviews on this matter? Would I recommend getting reviews? It might seem strange, but actually getting more reviews is going to be very difficult if people just aren't even that excited to read it. But the key thing here is that doesn't mean the contents of the book is bad. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to rewrite the book. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read it. But it's more about the positioning so that when someone sees it, they go, ooh, that looks interesting. And I have some tips coming up here practically in a moment. But that's the first thing to get is if they don't get past the title or the cover to even click on the book, then reviews aren't going to come into play. They're going to be hard to get. Getting people on your email list or sending them from the email list to there, that's not going to factor in. Book funnel isn't going to factor in. Publisher Rocket can help actually coming up with titles and markets and things like that. So that might actually have some relevance, but not to try to get this current title selling, but to like, how might you republish this whole book and take a different approach to the positioning. I have a side note right now. I might spend weeks crafting a title, crafting the hook, of something. And if it's fiction, while the title might not be as important, it's still making sure there's a market for it. And I get it that I don't just want to write a book because it's in demand. Okay. The flip side, though, is if you write a book that for sure is not in demand, then it's a hobby, which is totally fine. And I'm encourage people to write whatever they want to write. Just once you start saying, well, I want to get sales, now there's got to be that demand. But the distinction here is, and I hope it's clear, maybe it's a Captain Obvious thing to say, is that there could be a demand for the contents, yet no demand, like people don't even know they would be interested in it based off the way that it's packaged, because people will judge a book by its cover, and part of the cover is the title. Moving on to the next title, Job Seeker Guide, The Battle for Opportunities, like a one subtitle, and then a double subtitle, Job Seeker Frustrations with Increasing Competition. This almost reads like a research paper or something, the job seeker frustrations. What is this going to do for me? As a job seeker guy, again, generic, but also where's the benefit? What's the promise? The battle, is this going to help me land a job, or is it just going to tell me about the frustrations that I have with increasing competition, versus how to, beat the competition and land your dream job or something like that. That's more of a benefit oriented type of thing. Even saying something like that, you still have a lot of competition out there with other books. So, at least though, it would be a little more specific. Now we'll go to the final one, Pawsome, Tail Wagging Training for Your Dog and Cat in a Dog's Voice for Children and Youth. And my initial feedback on this is I'm confused by this. So it's tail wagging training. Is it literally about how to wag your tail? Because I don't think that's what it is. I think it's tail wagging is used as some sort of descriptor. But what is it going to train my dog to do? So is it just a general dog and cat training? Look, and then, well, if it's dog and cat, but now it's in a dog's voice, what does that mean? Like, hey, I love it when you feed me treats when I do whatever. Like, from a dog's perspective, I'm not quite sure what that is. Is the whole text just woof woof or something? Like, I'm being kind of silly, but like, I got to kind of guess what that means. And then, but then it's for children and youth. But wait a second. Are children training the dogs? I mean, I would think it's typically adults training. I guess if you want to teach your kids how to train a dog or cat, but it's in a dog's voice, but it also applies to cats. I am so confused by this. So a couple things here. Now you might think, well, okay, Derek, so the lesson here is make sure you have a good book title. That's actually not even the main point that jumped out at me. What else do you notice about this? We have a book on healthy aging. You have a book on being a job seeker. You have a book on some sort of dog and cat training, I'm guessing is what that is. Then we have a fiction book coming out. What is the business model? Are these different pen names? And if none of them are selling, you're probably not going to build a business off of a single book. So what do you want to build a business around to start with? You could be in multiple genres, but to start with, are you going to be the healthy aging person and health and wellness? Is it going to be about job seeking and career? Are you going to have multiple career guides and a back end thing on that? Or is it going to be about, something with animals? And then are you going to go into fiction? So now we have a business model, and that's where I actually start. And I go, that's really the underlying issue behind all of this, because we could slap a new title on this, but that's, even if you get some more sales, that might not generate much unless you have a back end, unless you have multiple books, and if you're building an email list and engaging them and doing those more sort of long-term types of things. And then where's your energy? Where's your focus? What's the credibility that are you the healthy aging person or a job seeking and all this? Do you have why would I learn healthy aging from you? So we have credibility, and that's going to come into play in the description in the book and so on. So there's so much. I could spend an hour just breaking down some of the things here, but I want you to reflect, what might the lesson for you be with some of this? Because if you're feeling overwhelmed, there's typically a lack of clarity. And I like to point this out because you might hear from me, I'm talking email lists, I'm talking getting book reviews, I'm talking having a captivating book title, particularly for nonfiction books, talking about building a back-end business. Yet there's still an order and a sequence, and there's a certain level of clarity that you're going to want before you even start pursuing these things. So this might sound a little shocking. If I was this author, I wouldn't even be publishing books at this point. I'd first be figuring out, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to focus on for a period of time? Really get it going. If that's healthy aging or something like that, maybe focus on that for a number of months, get a business going, get the sales going, really dive deep into a unique hook. And I'll share some tips on that in a moment. Dive deep into that, build that out. And then down the road, maybe if you want to do something job seeking or dog training or fiction or whatever it is. Now you might say, but Derek, what if you don't really know what you want to do? You're trying to, it's not totally clear. That's okay. You can be in a phase of exploration. What I would recommend for that is, I'll jump over to fiction here for a moment. Let's say you're not really quite sure what kind of stories you want to tell, what you're into, what the market's going to respond to, something that, you don't want to maybe write it just because it's in demand, but you might want to have a, Venn diagram where it crosses over between what there's a demand for and what you love, if your goal is to, generate passive income and do it as a career. So how might you do that? Well, it takes time and money to publish a book. Typically, at least if you do it professionally, professional level editing and cover design. Well, there's a place like Wattpad where people are writing stories and they're putting it out there and they're getting feedback. I interviewed a author duo, two authors, and they got, I don't know if it was a movie deal or a TV deal, I don't remember offhand, but they got some sort of deal that was picked up because they put their story on Wattpad for free. Right? And then later you can publish it or, pursue a traditional publisher and all these types of things. But there are ways to put out things for free. And for nonfiction, that could be putting out blog articles. And you put out a handful of different blog articles, guest blogging on places that already have a built-in audience, or you're going and doing podcast interviews. You're putting things out there. You're getting the feedback. And then when you see something that really resonates, then you might decide, okay, I see there's a market for this. I like it. I'm learning about that audience. Now I might pursue a book. Also, once you maybe figure out where that's all going to go and what some of the back end, either for more books or other things that you offer are. Okay, so I would not try to find your path through book publishing at first, right? That might be, and for many people, it is actually a later step in the process. And the question came in from the author, if I have suggestions on titles. Well, even that question, while it seems like a fair question, I mean, how would I have suggestions for titles? Because I don't know what the contents of the book is. And I don't know what your credibility is. When I think of a title, it's not just like going into ChatGPT and saying, give me some book titles. To give an example, I have a book on creating habits, and the main hook is that, create habits in 5 minutes a day, better habits in 5 minutes a day. And the whole thing is set up where everything can be done in 5 minutes a day. Well, I had to get that concept first and then write the book around that. So it's not to say you can't just sometimes swap out one title for another. That sometimes works. You still got to go, what's that hook? What's that unique thing that I'm doing here when it comes to a non-fiction book? A couple tips, though, is one simple thing would be to actually niche it down. So women in healthy aging, okay, but it could be women over 40, women over 50. It could be a specific strategy. It could be more about skincare. It could be more a book on the supplements that you do. It could be more a book on, like the stress management or whatever. And I'm not saying these would be the titles, but just you could niche and you could have a series of books on specific topics or a specific tip or trick or strategy for a particular audience. Going to the training your dog, we have dog and cat. That's almost going the opposite direction. If you're Cesar Millan, some celebrity dog trainer or animal trainer, you could just be like, dog training. It can be the title. And if you're a celebrity, people would probably buy it if that was all it was called. Yet when you're starting out and you want to get market penetration, I recommend going more niche. So not dog and cat, maybe specific to dog, but what if you had a training book just on a specific breed of dog? And you might go, well, Derek, training one breed is the same as training another. Maybe that's the case. Yet from a marketing standpoint, if you have something for training your German Shepherd, right, that's really going to appeal more than just a generic type of book. And I don't even, again, know if this is actually dog training or if it's some sort of children's book or I'm still confused by it. But the lesson remains niching, whether it's niching an audience and or niching a very specific topic. That is one, not the only way, but one simple way of really making it stand out in a crowded marketplace. So you kind of carve out that niche. right? And of course, considering what the main promise is, I don't know what the promises are. I don't know what the benefits are. I don't know what the credibility is. Another tactical type of thing for nonfiction would be if there's a unique mechanism. So how to have healthy relationships versus the love languages, right? Or love languages. And that's a specific kind of methodology. It's a specific mechanism in the world of marketing. It's what it would be called to achieve the outcome. Stephen Geist, when it comes to habits, talks about mini habits, which came from BJ Fogg's tiny habits. And then later on, James Clear called it atomic habits, right? They're all having these kind of branded terms. So unique branding types of things. They have the timeless watch. So for fiction, connected magic. Even looking here, the subtitle, connected magic, what does that mean? I don't even know what, if you're going to have a subtitle in fiction, then it could be, you know, a thrilling, paranormal, whatever. Like I don't know if that's what it is, but something more specific. So, I mean, that can work because the title isn't quite as important for that. But now we come back to, again, the bigger business model. So as you can see, my hope in going through this is you realize that things can seem overwhelming. There can be all of these pieces, and yet it can actually be simple if you're following it in the right order. So I wouldn't even be thinking about the titles. I wouldn't even be thinking about a future book. I wouldn't even necessarily be thinking about publishing a book, much less do you need book funnels and some of these different things. All of that applies when you're at a stage for that. Right now, this is almost going back to square one and going, what's the business that I want to build? What kind of career do I want to do? And there's plenty of free and low cost ways to experiment with that. And then once you have clarity, then you just focus on the next step. Okay, I know I want to do a nonfiction book on healthy aging. Okay, now what's my hook going to be? What's the unique angle? What market do I want to appeal to? You address some of those things long before you're worrying about getting reviews for something or things like that. First, get the title, the hook, the positioning, because you're going to need to know that in order to do all the other things down the road. Okay, so I hope this is helpful for the author. I hope you got some sort of takeaway, regardless of where you're at. Maybe it's a reminder of some of these things or key distinctions. And this is why I do coaching, because, again, you can, whether you're hearing it from me or from some other people are like, you need to get book reviews. Totally true. And I'll tell you that, and I'll offer you my Get Book Reviews challenge or programs on that. You need to have a captivating book title if it's nonfiction. Great. I have trainings on that. I have a free article on that, all of that. Yet that might not actually be the thing to focus on for you right now, right? So what's important for one person to focus on, that might not be the stage that you're in. And that's where if you get coaching, whether it's with me or someone else, someone that can actually help guide you to say, there's 49 things that are important that you don't need to focus on. Here's the one thing to focus on right now. Deal with those other things when you get there, when it's appropriate. Otherwise, you might be spending a lot of time and effort trying to fix something, trying to tweak something, trying to get these titles to work and these books selling and all that, only to realize, hey, maybe I don't even want to build a business around that anyway, in which case that's a lot of wasted effort, and your effort would have been better off setting yourself up for success right from the start.